Hi there, Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review for you. Going to talk about the 2021 film, Lamb. Trying to watch and review horror movies throughout October. I'm really going to try, but I am watching some non-horror movies. This one's listed as a folk horror movie. I wouldn't call it a horror movie until like the last 5 minutes or so, and even that, it's more of a folk tale, a twisted fairy tale, if you will, of Icelandic lore. If you've never seen Lamb, it's not surprising. This was an A24 film. It's an independent Icelandic film produced by multiple countries, Iceland, Sweden, and Poland. It was directed by Vladimir Johansson and written by him and Sean, S-J-O-N, Sean. He worked for years with Björk. That all makes sense. It's about a couple. They have a farm in rural Iceland. It's beautiful. If you've ever been to Alaska and been to a place called Hatcher Pass, this looks a lot like that, except a little more rugged. Anyway, they seem to live out in the middle of nowhere in rural Iceland, and they have sheep and they have a farm, and something strange happens in their sheep barn, and the rest plays out as a bit of a fable. This is one of the most beautiful films I've watched this year or any year. The cinematography is stunning. The director will just linger on shots of the surrounding area, the little farm with the mountains in the background, sunsets, sunrises, foggy mornings, you name it. Any way they could show this magnificent landscape, they do. This is a 4K from A24 Shop. A24shop.com, I believe, is their website address. This did not get a mainstream release. You can buy it on Blu-ray or 4K directly from A24, but it never got it. I thought it did get a Blu-ray release, but it didn't. I had heard about this movie when it came out. A lot of people talked about it. It would. There's some great practical effects in the film. But it is very strange. It's a little slow, even though it's only about 105 minutes, about an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 45 minutes, give or take. I thought it was really well done. I was enthralled by the cinematography and the soundtrack. It's a regular 5.1 soundtrack, but it's fully immersive. You are out there in the wilderness. You are in the sheep barn, that kind of stuff. They're a childless couple. There's more to that later. They find a creature in the sheep barn. There's an allusion to some kind of entity being in the barn early in the movie, and then later there's this creature that's not quite sheep and not quite human. It's some kind of hybrid thing. And they begin to care for it like their own. I think the movie's about a lot of things, but when it was over, it's basically, an allegory for quite a few things you could think of, and incredibly well done. Not the most uplifting movie. The way it ends is, well, it's a cautionary tale. It's a fable. It's not supposed to wrap up with a neat bow and go, well, it does wrap up in a neat bow, but it's certainly not a happy one. But the gist of the movie is you mess with nature, you get what you get. So I don't want to get into spoilers in this. It is not for everybody, but if anything I've said about it sounds good, then watch it, because it is an amazingly made film. Just really well made, well shot, well acted. The three main actors, you got the couple, the brother comes to live with them, the brother of the husband comes to live with them for a little while. You've got the creature, you've got the sheep, you've got another creature kind of thing. Anyway, you watch the movie if any of this sounds interesting, but it is slow-paced with beautiful music and beautiful scenery that in the end kind of leaves you with, oh my, let me rethink everything I've watched now. I thought it was really good. This was my birthday movie. If you're a member of A24, it's $5 a month to be in their quote-unquote movie fan club. You get a magazine several times a year. You usually get a free movie ticket and email about once a month for one of their films. And around your birthday, you get a free choice of just about anything, up to like $35, $40, $50 in their store. This was the only movie they had in 4K that I had not seen or owned, and so it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. I got it back in June, and I just got around to watching it. Figured I'd save it for Halloween. Is it a Halloween movie? Not really. I would watch this on a weekend when you have plenty of time, because it is an absolutely gorgeous movie, but you probably want to watch a comedy afterwards. It's supposedly based on some Icelandic fables, which I'm not familiar with. I wasn't familiar with the main actors, but the actress is Noomi Rapace. Wow, to be able to speak multiple languages, she's had quite the career in multiple countries. German language films, Swedish language films, English films, and now Icelandic films. I guess if you can speak multiple languages, you can have quite the career just all over the world. Not everything has to be Hollywood, right? I don't know how much money they spent on this movie, but it's made about $3 million, which I guess was a little bit of a success considering. The effects are incredibly well done. It's a fable. It's a cautionary tale. It's an allegory for other things. But what it is a really, really beautiful movie with a almost surreal sense of reality. Kind of strange, a little off kilter a little bit. But as the husband says at some point, don't mess with it because it's brought happiness. Okay. All in all, it's a movie I'm glad that's in the collection and something I would rewatch. Again, the A24 collector's editions, they have Blu-rays and 4Ks that come and they're basically normally priced. This came with a thick paperback book of screenshots, animations, pre-viz stuff, storyboards, that kind of thing, and then the movie in a nice digipack that slides in. Their version of Pi came the same way, but that's different than, say, Midsommar or The Lighthouse, which come in giant books and cost about $20 more. They come with big hardback books that are bound and come in slipcovers and all that. So the two different editions you can get from the A24 store are very much different in their construction, but this one, not being one of their big releases and being one of their more average digipack releases, was quite nice, reminiscent of something like Criterion Collection would put out. Anyway, the movie, the packaging, the 4K, I'd give it 5 out of 5. It looks spectacular. I think it was a 4K DI. I don't think it was upscaled. I think it's a native 4K. It does have Dolby Vision and HDR10 on it. The soundtrack was 5.1 in Icelandic with English subtitles. I think once you get the gist of the movie, I would watch it without subtitles. Because although there is plenty of dialogue, it's nothing you really need to know. It's better just to watch the movie. It is such a gorgeous film. This will go up on one of my best 4Ks of the year just because it is a simply stellar looking movie. It is, again, the most beautiful movie I've watched this year and probably the most I've watched in several years. It is absolutely gorgeous. The movie itself is a little weird and off kilter, but in the end, makes sense, wraps up well, and you know why, what happened. Anyway, check out Lamb if you're so inclined. It came out in 2021. I doubt it's on too many streaming services, but you can give it a shot if you can find it, or go to the A24 shop to pick up your copy. I'm Scott. I'm ROCKFILE. I have lots of excitement in my life this week that I will share in the next podcast. Needless to say, I'm going to have a lot more podcasts coming your way. So thank you for listening and have a spectacular day.